Hello there. Don't want to make anyone wait any longer, so real quick, welcome to Reddita, where we shamelessly ask you to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy it, and where we say to smash the bell and hate ourselves for it while we go down an existential crisis mentally that slowly eats away at you day after day, video after video, late night of editing after late night of editing, until one day they find you on the roof barking at traffic with your underwear on your head blasting turn down for what from a speaker stuck in your whoa, sorry, blacked out there for a second. Anyway, on with the video. Enjoy. r/mother-in-law from hell. Mother-in-law has no boundaries and is trying to get rid of me. Sorry this is hella long, but get ready because I'm seriously going to write a book about this woman one day. Monster-in-law doesn't begin to cover it. My husband, M28, and I, F23, have been married for just shy of 2 years now. Our anniversary is in a couple weeks. We got married after not dating that long, and I didn't meet his family until a week or so before the wedding, since he's from another country. Everything was fine. I could tell my mother-in-law was a little overbearing, but I had a million other things going through my head at that point. Red flag #1 was when the family, mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, and grandparents-in-law decided they were going to join us on the honeymoon, since they would be in the US for a couple weeks after the wedding. Mind you, this is April 2018. No. So we took a 4-day honeymoon and they joined us for the 2 weeks after. They, of course, wanted to stay in super fancy hotels and whatnot which we could not afford. They said they'd get us a room. Great. Or was it? Turns out we had to share that room with my brother-in-law, who's super cool, BTW. But my mother-in-law and father-in-law don't have a lot of respect for personal space or privacy. Hell, we were new liwats sharing a room with my husband's brother, so we kind of told him to leave the room for a bit while everyone got ready to go in the room across the hall. He got the gist. Out he went. My husband put the little lock on top of the hotel door, not sure what it's called, and locked the door itself, so he thought. So we are having naughty time, as married couples, especially new liwats, do for the first time in several days. Suddenly we hear the door open and jam with the outlock. My father-in-law is yelling, in their language, "Son, why is the door locked? Let me come in. You shouldn't lock us out." What if I'd been getting dressed or something? You can't just barge into people's rooms, even if you've got the other key. I heard my brother-in-law yelling, and my husband told him to get the F out. Fast forward to April of 2019. We go to visit his family in his home country. We surprised his family with a trip because we knew his mom would be super happy. So everything is great when we get there for like an hour. Essentially in the time we were there, she did several things that made me insane. I'm a private person. I like my personal space. My mother-in-law would literally go into my husband's old room where we were staying to go through and organize our stuff while we were gone. Except that also included our dirty clothes. The woman was literally folding my dirty underwear and putting it in the suitcase with my clean stuff. We asked her to stop, to no avail. I should also add that I studied another foreign language in college, which belongs to a minority group she hates. She literally got in my face and screamed that I was going to die at the hands of those dogs one day. Yeah, I damn near lost my shiz. Literally 3 days in I was calling my mom crying because I wanted to come home. A couple months after we left, mother-in-law announced she was moving to the US to work for their country's embassy here. Oh, and she'd be living with us. When my husband tried to backpedal that, it was a big sob story of, "Oh, you don't want me to come. You don't love me anymore." I knew it. My husband felt trapped because his mom and dad were basically guilting him into letting her live with us. I begged and pleaded for him to at least set a deadline. 2 or 3 months to get here, get settled, and find a place. I felt like that was more than reasonable. But I was also confused as to why she'd be leaving behind her husband, aging parents, and youngest child to come here. My gut told me it was about to get ugly, but I tried to brush it off as her wanting to start another career. September 2019 comes, and she moves in. A few days later, my husband had already made plans to go to an event with the men from my family. He suggested I take my mother-in-law to the mall and try to bond. Deep breath. Okay. We get there, and after a bit I checked my home camera to see how my dogs were doing. We'd just adopted another one, whom my mother-in-law hated and cried that we were trying to deter her from coming by adopting him. Insert eye roll here. I see they're tearing up a dog bed, so we head back home, which was like 5 minutes away. I told her I'll go in, clean it up, put them in the kennels, and she can go back to shopping. She said it was fine, and we'd just stay there. So we are sitting at my kitchen table, and she looks me dead in the eyes and says, "I'm going to lay it all out on the table. I'm here to take my son back to our country. He doesn't belong here with you. Only I can take care of him how he needs. I know him better than you or anyone, and I know he's unhappy here. You can never be enough for him, but he won't tell you that. Trust me, I see how unhappy he is, and I feel it in my heart. I'm here to show him that I can take better care of him, so he will come back with me." What the hell? My jaw dropped. Honestly, I should've kicked her out right then and there, but I was so mad and flabbergasted I didn't even know what to say. I literally just got up and walked away. That night I talked to my husband about it, and at first he tried to make excuses. He thought I was exaggerating, but then she told him the same thing the next day, that he needs to just go back. So he screamed at her and said she can't say that stuff, and especially not to me. Then she has the audacity to get in my face and scream and call me a liar. I'll have to bullet point other things because it's too long to even type. Standing outside our room listening while we have naughty time, trying to hit my dog, who was recently rescued from being a bait dog, saying our house was dirty. I'm not good enough / low class. I'm middle class BTW. But I'm not scared to be out in nature or with animals which she sees as less than. Saying my family and I don't respect him for who he is, his ethnicity. Calling us fat. Yeah, I could lose a few pounds. I was actively trying to at the time, but stress makes the pound accumulate on me, and she is a stressful person to live with. Trying to buy everything and throwing money around because we don't make anything also falls. Making fun of my job, waitress, while I was applying for full-time positions, which I landed a couple weeks after she got here. Hand washing dishes poorly, i.e. gunk still on them, and then putting them away instead of using the dishwasher like I'd asked. Storing pots/pans in the oven, which I don't do, and subsequently many were ruined since I don't check my oven before turning it on, because nothing should be in there. Taking our clothes out of the dryer and folding them. I'm weird about people touching my clothes, but especially my underwear. IDKY. I've been doing my own laundry since I was like 13 though, so I just have my way of doing things. Asked for her and my husband to go get a massage for her birthday. Cries and emotionally manipulates my husband whenever he doesn't give her enough attention. Their country has mandated military service. I asked if that included dual citizens. She said yes, unless they get approved to have it waived. Otherwise they can't enter the country between the ages of 18 to 24, F, or 18 to 26, M. Otherwise they'll be arrested at the airport and shipped off to a base to serve. I said, yeah, no. Over my dead body, will I allow another country to kidnap my child and force them to fight in some endless war they have nothing to do with when they've been raised here in the States? Her response was, "You Christian women always say that," in a mocking tone. Over my dead body. Well, it's their duty to serve, so they will. I think TF not. My husband took over that one because he saw my face and I literally blacked out. I was so angry. If there hadn't been a table between us, I would've assaulted someone for the first time in my life. Thankfully my husband feels just as passionately, but is more level-headed, and let her know in no uncertain terms that the children we have in the future will be US citizens and nothing more. We will not risk them, nor does she have any right to say what they will and won't be, or how we should raise them. Nope. Will literally say one thing and then 10 seconds later completely deny she said that and contradict herself. She's seriously got issues. I already told my husband I'll never leave our kids alone with her because honestly I don't trust her. Am I wrong in this? throws money around like she's rich when in reality she's roughly $100,000 deep in debt, but wants to judge us because we don't just take out loans in order to live above what we can afford. But again, she thinks she's better than me. Makes my husband take her shopping multiple times a week, refuses to drive herself anywhere, she Ubers to and from work every day. The list goes on. It eventually broke our marriage and I left. I came back only after he promised to keep going to marriage counseling and to finally stand up to her. The counseling helped and eventually she showed her own peach. In my opinion, it's emotional incest. Like she sees me as her competition in every way. Everything is a comparison between her and I, our cooking, our clothes, our countries, etc. Our marriage honestly came out stronger on the other side, but man was it hard. She finally moved out like a month ago after 6 months of living with us, but she still calls him every day and asks him to come over multiple times a day. If he doesn't talk to her via text, voice message, or call for more than a few hours, she calls crying and asking why he doesn't care about her anymore. She also gets my father-in-law in on it, and he berates my husband whenever he doesn't try to appease his mom. Hell, I know my father-in-law doesn't want her back because he said so. He said it's nice to not have to deal with her every night. He just comes home, watches TV, and goes to bed. They all know she's a full-time job, yet they pawn her off on my husband like it's his turn to babysit. It's exhausting. He's there almost every day for hours, which is fine since business is slow due to Mexican beer that's good with a Lyme disease. But once things pick back up, I don't know what's going to happen. My husband sees now how manipulative she is, but he feels trapped. He told her she's a narcissist and a sociopath, but she literally didn't respond when he told her this and asked her to get help. I just need her to go back, but her family there keeps encouraging her to stay. She's got heart issues and just tonight she was having a lot of issues and almost had to be hospitalized. My husband stayed with her until the wee hours of the morning as any good son would, but we can't be there for her 24/7. It's too much. I don't know what to do. I guess I'm just venting, but also sharing my nightmare of a mother-in-law story. I'm sure I left a ton out, but that's the gist of it. Sorry I was so long, but congrats if you made it this far. PS, her own parents told her to shut up and leave us alone and stop being so horrible to me. Love them. Update: my husband and I had a long talk about boundaries last night. He agreed he needs to be better about maintaining them. We talked about not answering when my mother-in-law and father-in-law are being crazy. Even the other day, he wasn't at her house for very long, and I could tell something was up because he was acting weird, but I didn't push it. When we talked last night, he told me it's because she kept pushing him about getting his hair cut, how, and said he's not the person she used to know, and he's not taking care of himself. My husband used to be a bodybuilder and would go out with his buddies to hang out or party all the time when he was in his early 20s, but has grown up and has other priorities now. He told her that time if she didn't stop, he would leave. She pressed more, so he walked out and came home. I encouraged him to keep doing that. r/just no mother-in-law. Mother-in-law wants no rules when it comes to watching grandkid. My husband and I have been together for 5 years. In those 5 years his mother has been increasingly mean, manipulative, insulting, and narcissistic. She's gone as far as putting my clothes in a trash bag because I put them in a clothes hamper. We have never had a loving or friendly relationship. Recently my husband and I became parents. Around 2 months I went back to work part-time and mother-in-law watched him for about 4 hours. She was never alone with him. Due to the pandemic my husband is working from home and needed an extra hand. During my pregnancy it was always discussed that she would be our caregiver so that we both could continue working. As our son got bigger, 3 months, he started to become more aware of his surroundings. We felt as his parents we needed to start letting people know how we would like him cared for. When time came for mother-in-law to watch him at her house, we told her to turn his head away from the TV until he is a little older. We asked for him not to be placed on an infant seat because he was no longer small enough for it. We asked for a certain type of diapers be used since the other brands didn't fit him as comfortably. Every rule came with her commentary that she raised my husband and he's fine, or so and so does it this way and it works. The tipping point came when she wanted to walk our son around the corner to her mother's house. My mother-in-law and her mother live on a heavily trafficked street that has seen at least one death of a pedestrian getting hit by a car in the last year. My husband told her no, and that we don't feel like he's old enough to be walked around the particular corner yet. She blew up, telling us we are keeping the baby from his great-grandmother. When we suggested she drive him around the corner, she claimed she couldn't get the car seat out due to her arthritis. After her temper tantrum, my husband and I called my mother to come watch the baby. Mother-in-law continues to text my husband saying awful things about me, my mother, and him. She claims we fired her and laid out everything she dislikes about me, most of which has nothing to do with caring for her grandson. She now refers to my mom as the nanny. After a month of back and forth, we don't feel comfortable letting her watch the baby without specific rules. She's adamant that she will only watch him with absolutely no rules, and that we should be grateful she's giving up her retirement to help us for free. We have come to decision to move to a different state so that I can stop working and be a stay-at-home mom. We are devastated to be leaving our family and work families. We feel that we have no other options as the rest of our parents work full-time and we can't afford daycare. Are we overreacting? Just no mother-in-law. My mother-in-law called me damaged goods. For some context, I'm 28F and I'm a widow. My husband was in the army and was killed in the line of duty. After his passing, I was in a dark place and I admit I was sleeping around. I ended up pregnant with my dear daughter. B.O. Dad bailed and I raised her as a single mom. About a year after my dear daughter's birth, I met this wonderful man who helped me heal. Long story short, we fell in love and were married. We currently have ED2, 3, and dear son, 1. I've always had a friendly conversation with my mother-in-law, not too over the top, but polite enough. Dear husband, me and the kiddos went over to mother-in-law's for a Father Day BBQ. Restrictions are lifted where we live. All the kids were playing, and the guys were just drinking beer. I go inside the house to use the restroom, and when I walk back out to the yard, I hear mother-in-law chatting with her old biddies. Could do so much better. I hope he doesn't adopt dear daughter. She had a child out of wedlock. Damaged goods. My mother-in-law has never spoken like that about me. She was pretty drunk. I haven't told my husband. I just think I'm overreacting. r/just no mother-in-law. How to get over my anger towards mother-in-law. I posted on here before about the mother-in-law, my mother, specifically, and got great advice. So here goes again. I'm sorry in advance for how long this post is. I've never expressed all of this before, and simply expressing it feels soothing. But I also need your advice. My parents are basically good, kind people. They were never physically abusive toward me or my brother. They gave us everything we needed growing up. They helped pay for my college, and they even helped me out with $4K a year from 22 to 24 when I didn't have a decent job yet. My mom spends much of her life taking care of my grandmother, who has severe dementia. The two of them were never close, but my mom bends over backwards to make sure my grandmother is comfortable. My dad, now retired, is a hard-working man who barely missed a day of work in his life and was loved and respected by his coworkers. That said, my parents and I got along like snakes and weasels when I was growing up. Constant fighting. I hated them. My mom very often, weekly, and literally, screamed when she didn't like my behavior or didn't get her way. She was a stay-at-home mom, so she was impossible to avoid, and she could be very controlling and petty. Even something like refusing to change my socks could result in my mom screaming about what a spoiled rotten child I was. In fact, I doubt a month of my life went by between ages 10 and 22 when I didn't hear what a spoiled rotten child I was. I wasn't a bad kid. Actually, I was moody and depressed, and I was snide with my parents, but I was an A/B student, didn't touch any drugs beyond weed, didn't drink at all, and spent most of my time playing guitar in my room. I'm a happily married college professor now, and generally I've always been a decent guy. But to my mom, I've always been a villain. She typically instigates drama, and then my dad piles on. He worships my mom and is essentially her drama deputy. The main issue for the last few years is that I'm alleged to be insensitive to my mom, since we don't visit them as often as they want. They live 1.5 hours away. We used to see them once a month, which I found to be plenty of time, but they expect a lot more visits from us. They've been getting increasingly angry over this. So, the current fight. Several weeks ago, when my wife returned from a 12-hour shift treating COVID-19 patients at the hospital, and I was frantically redesigning my classes for the shift to online teaching, my mother called to start a fight over how we never visit notwithstanding the global pandemic and quarantine. I told her it was not the right time to discuss this problem, and got off the phone. My dad called later to continue the fight, and I texted him that it wasn't a good time to talk. He texted back, "I'm understanding how little you care about us. If you were any kind of caring son you would have taken the time to call. Don't bother responding." Since then, I've barely heard from them. I'm sure they're preparing a long angry email about what a spoiled and uncaring person I am. The dark truth of it is that I don't really want them in my life. I want to get along with them and make sure they're safe and healthy, and I wish them the very best, but all the fighting and screaming and crying from my younger days has made me very neurotic with them. I get triggered just hearing my mom's voice sometimes. It makes me so tense just being around them, even when they are being perfectly friendly, that I feel like I'm going to jump out of my skin. In short, I don't know what to do. On the one hand, I want to be there for my parents and to support them, and I seem to want desperately, for some reason, for them to see me as a good son and a good person. I have always badly wanted their approval. On the other hand, we definitely cannot offer them the kind of time and social companionship they desire. Even more urgently, I need to find a way to get over the deep anger I have toward my parents, my mother especially. Whenever I'm in a bad mood, or even when I'm slightly hangry, I'll start dwelling angrily on them. I need to find a way to let it go. How can I let it go? Help. Spurned mother-in-law sends angry email. What to reply? Last week, I wrote a post asking how to get over my anger toward mother-in-law, and mentioned that we have been communicating only through one sentence long, cordial emails for several weeks. Finally, yesterday, timed for Mother's Day, no doubt, mother-in-law wrote this. We realize after a lot of time has gone by, not due to the virus, that you are satisfied with a brief email correspondence. While it certainly isn't what we would like, we respect the distant relationship you are comfortable having with us. Know that we love you and are here for you if you need us. We hope you and wife stay well. Love, Ma. We foolishly assumed they were being warm and understanding, so we replied, "Thank you. We love you guys and are always here if you need anything. We enjoyed the relationship we had before the quarantine. We are sorry it was not your ideal, and we appreciate your respecting our wishes. It was an ambush, or perhaps mother-in-law expected groveling. I don't know, but I woke up to this angry email. Okay, here are the rules as mandated by you. 1. We will not call you on the telephone. If you want to talk you will call us. 2. We will only call you if there is an emergency. You will have to give us a list of things that you consider an emergency. 3. Emails will be kept short and to the point. 4. We will not see you unless you have the desire to see us, in which case you will call or email. 5. Visits will be kept short when permitted and limited to a lunch or dinner visit. Please add any rules you see fit. Please forgive us for thinking we could have a loving relationship as we do with other members of our family. Your brother has a full-time job and 2 children that he must care for 24 hours a day. He and his wife still find the time to call, text, and email us almost every day to share our days, concern over issues and express feelings, even for only a 10-minute conversation. Your cousin and her wife both have full-time jobs and 2 children they must care for 24 hours a day, and they call and text regularly to show mutual caring and concern. We talk freely with our friends without concern that we are bothering them because they are too busy or too stressed to have a relationship with us. We understand now that our relationship with you must be different, as it has been for quite some time, well before the pandemic. Although we do not understand why, we will continue to have an arm's length relationship with you and wife because you are just too busy and not interested in anything more. Love, Mom and Dad. What should we do? What should we say? My wife is working long days at the ICU treating COVID-19 patients, and she can't handle any of this right now. I can't handle it either, because I'm so sick of my parents. I'm at a loss for kind words, but completely cutting off my elderly parents in the middle of the pandemic, while my mother's own mom is dying, seems inordinately cruel. How do I navigate this to maintain proper distance, but without simply showing them the door? Help. Spurned mom/mother-in-law continues the drama. How to reply. Several days ago, I received wonderful advice on this post. I followed the prevailing advice to ignore the message. But now I have just received the message below. I'm saddened that you have not so much as picked up the phone to call us in 7 weeks or more. Everyone has days where their life's problems make them not want to talk on the phone. Over a month. No, I understand these are trying times for you right now. Dad and I are having some trying times too, that you know nothing about. You do not even care enough to pick up the phone on Mother's Day to see how we are doing. That is not love. I have been trying for years to ignore the hints you have given us that you do not want a close relationship with us. I remember when I thought we had a good relationship and I enjoyed it so much. Our antiquing and lunches are some of my favorite memories. I realize now I was the only one feeling that way. I cannot have a relationship with my own son where I'm feeling intrusive and unwelcome. You rarely answer the phone when we call you. Dad and I have asked for you to give us some dates so we can get the pet sitter and have a short 3-hour visit. Dad has wanted to come visit you himself, but you never take him up on it. You are always too busy. You never have called and said you would like to see us or asked us to visit. I had mentioned we might look at over 55 neighborhoods closer to you. I thought if you have a child one day, that would be nice for both of us. That seemed to horrify you. Enough. You have hurt our feelings, and we do not know what we have done to deserve this. We would like to know why you have become so cold toward us. We would like you to call and let us know. If we do not hear from you, we will assume you do not want a relationship, and the phone calls, emails, invitations to join the family or just visit will stop. The invitation to switch to NC, no contact, is on the table here, but that's not really what we want. If we had wanted that, we could have taken that option years ago. We, wife and I, really want to continue the cordial, though occasionally tense, distant relationship we have had with my parents for years, as described in my mom's email. But we also need the fog to stop. How should I reply? How would you reply in our shoes? This community has been a great source of strength and reason for us this week. Thank you in advance for your help. Edit. We have now drafted a possible reply. How does this look? What do you think? We believe the relationship we had previously was a strong relationship. We usually saw one another every 4 to 8 weeks and exchanged letters every week, often several times/week. This is very similar to the relationship wife has with her own parents. It is clear that this has never been adequate for you, but this is what we can offer. As I made clear several weeks ago, we are not going to discuss this further, and we will continue to avoid calling until you can respect those boundaries. If you are willing to move on, we will be glad to call. Today I fornicated up. Today I fornicated up by getting in the shower with my future mother-in-law. This actually happened about 30 minutes ago, and I still can't process it. So my fiancé and I live together in our house, and because of the whole quarantine thing, she was worried about her mother being all alone, so we invited her to stay with us and she agreed. A bit awkward at first, but she's good company and passed the awkward stage within 2 days. Yeah, so I woke up this morning and my fiancé wasn't in bed, but I could hear the shower in our bathroom. Feeling a bit frisky, I decided to join her and maybe play around a bit. Got fully naked and ready to go. I opened the door and the speakers in the bathroom were playing music, and then it hit me. Maybe I should tiptoe in and seductively start kissing from behind like in the movies. It looks hot there, so maybe it'll be the same in real life, right? So I stealthily made it into the shower and wrapped my arms around my fiancé. When she screamed, I just started laughing. Second wrong move, and said in a deep voice, "It's just me baby," and tried again. It was only when she shouted my name and told me to get the fornicate out. I realized that it was actually her mother. Since I'm a slow idiot, I just stood there for about 5 seconds just staring at her as she covered herself before apologizing and running out. I'm sitting in my car in the garage right now typing this, and I still don't know where my fiancé is or why the fornicator mother was showering in our private bathroom instead of the house bathroom. So that's my life right now, and I don't know how I'll live through this. TL. Doctor, I woke up and thought I should join my fiancé in the shower, but it turned out to be her mother. My life is over. Edit. I didn't realize it wasn't my fiancé sooner because the both of them literally look like sisters. Her mother doesn't age at all, and they share the same hair color and body type, for lack of a better word. Update. After spending the past hours across the street with my friend building up confidence, I finally went back home and found both of them sitting on the couch. I first went up to kiss my fiancée and greet her, but she sort of turned her cheek as I came. I was bloody sweating bricks at this point and said something around the lines of, "So my mother says you two had quite the morning." Holy shiz, I can't even explain how scared I was since they both looked serious, so I just started explaining my side of the story. When all was said, they both kind of looked at each other then broke into laughter. Apparently her en-suite's shower had terrible pressure this morning, so my fiancée said she could try ours. So basically we are back in the awkward phase and her mother can barely look me in the eye, and though my fiancée says she's fine with it and understands, I can tell she's a bit angry / disturbed by the fact her mother and we saw each other naked, and also that I didn't realize it wasn't her soon. Needless to say, I'll never surprise my fiancée in the shower ever again. Thank you for watching. Go enjoy the rest of your day.